numbers of pensioners, very, very deficient infrastructural landscaping, schools actually not really running properly, teachers being owed salaries here and there. If I have to mention them all, they're quite enormous, and it's not anything anybody will say he doesn't know. This is because PDP, I mentioned that because I know if we have to say the truth, if PDP has done all well, if PDP has gotten it all well from the beginning, 2019 till now, I mean 1999 till now, everybody would have been clapping for us. There would have been no space for any other person wanting to contest from any other party. You agree with me that what has been going on in the state is something that has stirred a lot of controversy over who takes the reins of governance in Abia State. All that is pointing to the failures in one way or another of the governance presided over by PDP. So it will be doing disservice to ourselves and to the people if we say all has been Uhuru from the day we took over. No, it has not been. And it became even worse when we lost the center. And so when we lost the center, some of those interventions that should have been coming from federal government were no longer coming. And you can agree with me, even as I was coming this morning, you saw a lot of roads that very difficult to pass by. And I would think that those roads, all they need is attention, not so much, not an enormous amount of money to see. They just need attention. All of that culminates in what I would say some failures of the party.
Now, two questions follow from what you've said in a bit. Why now? Why is it now that you're contesting for the governorship seat that you're talking? Why haven't you spoken all this while since you have admitted that the PDP indeed has not been Uhuru ever since coming into power? Then the second is this not going to make the job of an aspirant like yourself very difficult? Knowing and that you've admitted that the PDP has not done probably so well. You mentioned the issue of payment or non-payment of salaries and the rest. Is this not going to be very difficult for the PDP to sell their personalities come 2023, you think?
No, I think it is rather going to strengthen my bid, and it will make the people know that this person is honest. You have to be able to recognize what stares you at face, first of all, before you say you are going to confront it. If you do not admit that we have had failures, then what are you coming to do? What are you going to complain about? And of course, 99% of the masses know that you have failed in this way, you failed in that way, and then you jump out to say everything is Uhuru. How would they know that you can be the man when you have not recognized? You have to identify the problems first. I think it's rather going to strengthen my candidature when I emerge, to know that this chap who admits that these are the areas where they have failed, it's rather better to support him than somebody who plays footsie, who ignores everything and continues to think you can hoodwink the people into believing you've done so well. We haven't done so well, and that's what has prompted people like us to come out. And if I have to go to your earlier question, I have been in the PDP since 1998. I'm a pioneer member. And when the governance wasn't going well in the first tenure of the first governor of this Fourth Republic, I was one of the few men that stood our grounds to ask questions. And so it became opposition within the party. Most of the elders of the party supported me, even though the governor then was quite high-handed. And withheld my salaries, some of which are still being held up till now. I didn't care. But we spoke out to say, things you are doing, these are not the things we came here for. And the whole world knew about it. People like us were arrested in the BCA, tried in the BCA, jailed in BCA, served our tenure in the BCA. But we still trudged on. We didn't give up because we believed so much in what we were saying and doing. So it wasn't so much, or it's rather not so much about criticizing the party. It is today about seeking to take over that position, so you can improve on what they haven't done well, and then try to change the narrative positively. So I think that this is the right time, being that I'm from Abia North. If for any reason I thought that it wasn't proper, I wouldn't have jumped out, because it's quite expensive and it's an uphill task to seek to be a governor in a state like Abia, where you have this complex arrangement. So coming from Abia North, that's the first qualification anyway, and it couldn't have been any time earlier than now. And being from Abia North, notwithstanding the fierce activism inspired by this zoning controversy.
Yeah, we'll come to that, because I'm sure Abians will be willing to get to hear from you what you'll be bringing
to the table, quite different from what has been
ever since the administration of the People's Democratic Party. But first of all, I'm sure
everyone would agree that you would have to emerge from your party primaries. And as we're going to talk about the controversy that emanated from the zoning by your own political party, still being rancorous as we speak, I'm sure even maybe after the primaries that might continue. I'm sure too for those who are sympathetic to the PDP, they would hope not, but it's been an issue, hasn't it? What do you still make of it?
Well, why it is an issue is simple. It is an issue because the two establishments, the government, that is the executive arm, which is presided over by PDP, and the party itself, came out and made this controversial statement about zoning. Otherwise, before now, there has never been a time that all the zones stayed quiet and say it is this zone that must go, so nobody else comes out from the other zones to vie for the position. It has never been so. But what has always made a difference is when the establishment backs a particular position. Today, the establishment is backing that outrageous zoning formula and was pronounced by the party. That's what is causing this controversy. If I recall very perfectly, in 2015, when the present governor was being tipped to take over, there was so much rancor. People from Abia North also fired out in PDP. But the difference was that the executive arm at the time was backing the zoning arrangement for Abia South. So if some people, I don't want to mention names for courtesy reasons, from Abia North, who had enormous war chest, they had political networking that could not be equal to any other all over the country. They were also running PDP, but they were from North. Meanwhile, we had agreed that it should go to the South for purposes of this clockwise trajectory of the zoning formula. So that you can see at the end of the primaries, everything died down. Some of these people who are contesting from Central and from North, they fizzled out. Many of them jumped ship. They went to other parties and were roundly defeated still. Why? Because the permutation was actually fair and equitable. The permutation that the Southern man should have it, because we are maintaining a clockwise trajectory in the zoning formula. And it wasn't because the chap who was being tipped for governorship was such a strong party man or anything. It was because the political party in question and the executive arm in prison, all of them concentrated and said, look, it is going to the South. So every other person, no matter the amount of money you threw around, no matter the kind of people you arranged in your campaign, every other thing was overshadowed. So over time, it paled into insignificance, that bid they had. So what the controversy you have today is because there is this outrageous statement from the party. And then the chief executive himself is also seen as not being neutral, rather he is also supporting somebody, not from the North. That's why you have what you have today. If he had said, okay, we are continuing that trajectory would show that no zone could at any time wait beyond 16 years. So it's a clockwise trajectory. It's not a pendulum. If you want to introduce an oscillation, as you are attempting to, you really have so much to chew. It will be an uphill task for you, and that's exactly what is showing up now. That's why you and every other person know that there is now something really to engage our attention, and it is not actually palatable even to the party. But we believe we'll surmount it. We'll come out of it.
You mentioned that the governor is apparently supporting an aspirant, even though recently we did have the chief press secretary to the governor insinuate that that might not be the case after all. But with this back and forth, do you see the People's Democratic Party, your own party, heading for an implosion? Before we get to find out from you the chances you have got to emerge from the primaries.
Well, your guess is as good as mine. If for any reason, God forbid, the party goes ahead, and of course, how would they even arrive at that? You have to have and conduct free, fair, and credible primaries. If you conduct the free, fair, and credible primaries, and somebody not from the north emerges, it would be that the members of the party, the electors, who are the delegates actually, have compromised. And if they have compromised, it will be to the detriment of themselves. And you just kick the can along the way. It's going to end somewhere. We go to the main election where you are going to have to face your opponent. Now, the decision you've taken will culminate into something very disastrous and far-reaching consequences, in the sense that there will be a lot of sympathy votes and protest votes in favor of whichever party has produced somebody from the north. And if that be, but God forbid, like I always said, God forbid, I want to believe that somehow there will be some divine fiat, a kind of intervention to not make PDP make that blunder. If they make that blunder, it will mean that you are now throwing the contest open, or decision of the outcome, to the major electorate, which is no longer PDP alone. That is the entire Abia. And you want to know that people in Abia, from Abia North, they live across the three zones, and in fact they are considered more in the south: Aba North, Aba South, Osisioma, Ogunabo, Obingwa, and they would actually somehow show their displeasure in the decision of the party. So I am just praying that it should never come to that. I want to believe that everything will die down with time.
You use the word compromise of the delegates, and that to the effect that an aspirant emerges or a candidate emerges after the processes that is not from Abia North. Can you throw more light on that? I mean, if it's a free and square process, would you still say the delegates might have compromised?
Well, why I've said this is because the instruments of manipulation are well controlled by the party and the executive arm of government. It's up to them, because if you are an aspirant, as I am, and you've campaigned, done all this, what we are doing, we've been visiting the delegates. In my case, I've always separated the delegates from the stakeholders, so I could appeal to them directly to say, you are holding a pound, don't exchange it for a penny. You give away your pound, take a penny, quickly go buy yourself some stuff and eat it off right away. Somebody who knows the value of the paper you gave him, that this is a pound. Don't do that. Don't compromise. So if you compromise them, it portends a disaster of a sort. But like you rightly asked this question, I am believing that the delegates this time will not be laid in tow like a cow to come vote X or Y. They will have to exercise and do their conscience. We've been appealing to them, we the aspirants, we've been appealing to them. This time around, you have to observe strict boundary between rituality and reality. The ritual of the every 8 years you are asked to go put this man. You don't ask question, who is he? What's his background? What's he up to? What is he bringing into the mix? You just go and sheepishly you are in obedience to some kind of godfatherism stuff. This time we believe they have come of age. They're not going to do that because they know the disaster such practice, such action will portend.
So let me put it pointedly to you now. Would you, as an aspirant from Abia North, readily accept a candidate who emerges after the process that is not from Abia North if the process is free and square?
All right. For me, if I'm beaten fair and square, I will pick up the phone and congratulate the other guy who beat me. It doesn't matter where he comes from. But I am almost certain, I am as sure as tomorrow's sun that in a free, fair, and credible primaries, nobody other than Abia North will emerge. I am too sure about this. Yeah. Why? Because look at what is going on. Why is everybody not keeping quiet? Why are people agitating? Because they know this is wrong. And the leaders of the party, they have put their feet down and say this is wrong. The governor is not having it easy even now. So if you do free, fair, and credible election, nobody other than somebody from Abia North will emerge.
How do you mean the governor is not having it easy?
Oh, is he having it easy? Haven't you been seeing what's going on? I pity the young man, wherever he is. I have sympathy for him. Because whoever had instigated that pronouncement by the party is the one that has dragged him this willy-nilly. And why should that be? The governor naturally should have somebody succeed him that he is backing. But that's not what is playing out now, because the person that the governor is backing is an open secret. Yeah, it is not officially made known, but you and I know that he is backing a certain candidate or aspirant, and that aspirant doesn't come from Abia North. So how is he going to do? What magic is going to do? If they compromise the people by releasing a lot of money to electors, and the electors foolishly or stupidly acquiesce to that, and they elect the person, and it comes out, quote and unquote, free and fair outcome, I am certain, I can bet top dollar that candidate won't fly in the main election. And you know the danger of another party taking over from a party that has been in charge for almost 24 years. They're going to dig out things that you thought you buried. And those who are fanning the embers of this discord will be first line in the firing squad, if I have to use that word. So I think to some extent, the party and the governor will come to their senses at some point in this struggle. I very much believe that.
There's been a back and forth regarding your party's delegates elections. At one report will say it's been held, at another it's not been held. What's the true position?
It has not been held. It has not been held. INEC is in a position to tell you if it has been held officially, and I am in a position to tell you whether there has been any that I witnessed or participated. I am an aspirant. And if I haven't put money in the party in terms of official payments to qualify to be where I am today, I have put close to 50 million. And so why wouldn't I know what's happening in my tiny one ward out of 184? There hasn't been any. Okay, if you conducted in the other 183, why didn't you conduct in my own? And I've reached out to other aspirants and they confirmed the same. So this is it. Individuals we know.
What could be the reason?
Oh, that's what I'm saying. It will be most likely, and this can be fact-checked, that some power hawks who litter the corridors of power want to probably manipulate the people, this intricate play of mass manipulation, to come up with some list of those they think will be completely stooges of theirs, so they can give them instruction and they'll just go do their bidding. And so they have been the one trying to hijack the process away from the party. I don't want to think that the governor has a hand in this, because the governor is exiting. So there are men around him who want to continue. So they want to bring somebody that they could also have a lot of influence over.
So I know exactly that this is what could be leading to this. Otherwise, what is anybody's gain in wanting to